To get started with today in closing up the edges of our pillow, we want to make sure that our piece is folded in half evenly. You do want to make sure that the stitch marker that indicates the front side or the right side of your work is on the inside of the fold, because as we're sewing up the ends for the two sides, we want to make sure that we're doing it with the wrong side facing us. So to get started, I'm going to take my stitch marker out from the corner here, and I'm just removing that stitch marker. And there is the loop where I finished my last stitch on part one, and I'm just going to grab my yarn and pull it down so that that loop is kind of tight, and then I'm just going to take the actual loop and I'm just going to pull it through, and that is going to close off that last stitch. And in doing so, it is not going to create any kind of knots here, so as I work, I will not have any knots formed on my pillow or on my work. All right, then I'm going to take this piece of yarn, and I'm going to come down here where I'm on the screen a little bit better than up here in the corner, and I'm just going to take my yarn needle or darning needle, however you refer to it, and I am just going to get my yarn on that needle. All right. And then I'm going to pull the yarn right through the very tip corner. My yarn is left fastened on this back end, so I'm going to take the front piece and just slip my needle right through that very tip of the corner there and pull it through. And that will be the first part that pulls my two pieces together. All right. Now I am going to come to the next stitch and see how right here I have what creates the top of the V in that stitch. I'm going to go up through just the front loop only, and then I'm going to match it with the exact same stitch on the back here, and see how also on this one I have the two loops. I have my front loop and I have my back loop. I am going to insert my needle in the back loop only. So let me pull it back out and go in just the back loop only, and then I'm going to pull that through just like that. Then I'm going to come right back to the very next stitch, and I'm going to do the same thing. As you can see, here's my front loop and here's my back loop. I'm going to go just through the front loop, and I'm going to go just through the back loop of this one, just like that, and pull it through. And I'm not pulling it too tight because I don't want it to pull my work a little wonky, but I'm pulling it tight enough that it's going to close it up. And I'm going to come to the very next stitch, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go through the front loop, and then I'm going to go to the one directly across from it and go through just the back loop. And I'm going to move to the very next one, and I'm going to do the same thing. Going to go through the front loop, go directly across, and go through the back loop. And I'm just going to pull my yarn through. And you can see how it's already starting to nicely close that up. You can't even tell that there's a seam there. It's just coming together quite perfectly. All right, I'm just going to move to the very next one and do the exact same thing. I'm going to come up, make sure I find the right one. Yep, there's my front loop there, and go right there into my back loop and pull it through. And I'm going to continue doing that all the way down to the end. And when I get to the very end over here, if you'll stop about right here, then we'll work this corner piece together. So go ahead and continue working all the way down this top portion of your pillow, and I will meet you at the very end here in this corner. All right, so we're down at the very end here, and I just want to show you, we've got the two side ends open here now, but just kind of pulling this over just kind of shows you that you really can't even see where you just created that seam. So it looks very nice. So it's going to give a nice top to your pillow. So let's go to the corner here, and we're going to do the same technique in the corner, but we're just going to do it 3 times to kind of give that corner that rounded edge. But instead of going under just one loop, we're going to go under both loops. You can see that right there. I've got them both on the hook, or needle, excuse me. And I'm going to come right into both of them right here on this corner. And I'm going to pull through. And just to make sure that that is nice and secure down, I pulled that a little too tight. We're going to do it a total of 3 times. So here's number 2. And going through both of them again. That is number 3. And that will just kind of help to give that corner the roundedness that we desire when the pillow is turned over. So now we're going to turn our pillow. Whoops. And we're going to start going down the side. And we're going to treat it just like we did the other one. We're going to come in the front loop, and we're going to go to the back loop. And we're going to come up into the front loop and go into the back loop. Front loop and the back loop. And just like we did with the previous side, we're going to continue doing that all the way down. And when you get to the end here, now we won't have a corner because our piece was automatically joined when we turned our piece and folded it in half. So just work until you get to just right before the end here, when you have just like a little peek hole left, and I will meet back up with you there. All right, so we're right down here to the end, and we have just a little peekaboo hole right here. And so we're going to just continue closing it up as we have been, and this looks like it'll be the very last one. And so I'm just going to kind of go in this corner just like I did the other corner, and just kind of do it a couple of times just to make sure that it's nice and closed in and rounded. And then we are finished with this yarn that we have left. So we're just going to come and weave it in just like we would to weave in any of our other tails up under a couple of those top stitches there. And we don't want to pull it so tight. We don't want to take away from the shape of the corner of the pillow. And then going over the top of the last one we pulled it through, we're going to go back through those top loops. And then I'm going to come back through it one more time. One was enough going forward and backward, but I always like to do mine just a couple times just to make sure that it is completely secured and locked in. Like I said, once is enough, but I just always do mine a couple times. And then we're just going to come and clip off that excess yarn, and that part of our pillow is complete. So we have our nice square pillow. See if I can pull this up just enough. My little mats are kind of off a little bit, not big enough for that circumference of the camera, but this is our square pillow. So now we're going to go find our one opening right here, and we're going to turn our pillow right side out. Again, just taking a look real quick. There's our seam. That is not too obvious. And just working that pillow right side out. And we know it's right side out because here's our side with our little stitch marker. We can go ahead and take that off. And now we're going to stuff it with our polyfill. So I'm going to go get the polyfill and I will be right back. So here is the polyfill bag that my husband bought a couple weeks back on the clearance aisle at Walmart. It is a 50-ounce bag. We will not need that much for this pillow. I am guessing that we will only need about 10, maybe 15 ounces. We'll get a better type measurement after we start filling the pillow. So if you're ready, let's start putting this polyfill into our pillow. So I'm just going to start filling a pillow, and I am going to make sure that I am pushing it into the corners. Because I want to make sure my corners are stuffed. And I'm going to push this some down over the top here, because I do want to make sure that my pillow is nice and full and fluffy. But I want to make sure that it's even. So I'm kind of pulling it apart a little bit as I'm stuffing it, so I make sure that it's evenly dispersed. And I know that's a little hard to see. I'm just going to go ahead and remove these little covers that I was trying to so nicely decorate the table with to give it more of a Christmas feel, so that you can try and see a little bit better what I'm doing. And again, I'm just working that polyfill with my fingers inside, just trying to pull it apart a little bit and make it more of an even disbursement in there. Now, another option you can do is you can buy a pillow that's already made and slide this over it and seal it up. You don't have to use the polyfill. That's entirely up to you. All right. And then I'm going to add just a little bit more. And then I'm going to go ahead and sew up this end just halfway and finish filling the pillow after I've sewn it up a little bit. So I think that's all I'm going to add in there for now. I obviously am going to want more to kind of fill in where it's not quite got all the stuffing in it. But I'm going to wait until I have just a little section left, and then I will continue to fill it. So let's grab that short piece of yarn that we had cut last week, and let's go ahead and get that on our needle. All right. And this is what I'm going to do. Since we are now have the front face of our pillow showing, we don't want anything showing on the outside. So I am going to take my yarn needle and I'm going to run it up underneath a couple of the stitches here and pull it through about like that. And because this is not going to be seen, I'm just going to create kind of a loose knot. I mean, I'm knotting it, but I'm not pulling it too tight because I don't want it to stretch any of the thread or yarn, excuse me. And then even though I've knotted that on, I'm just going to come back through a couple pieces and then take it right back up so that I know that it's nice and secured in there. And because I know it's secure, you can either tuck that tail in or you can clip it off. Honestly, it's not going to be seen, so I'm not going to worry about it. And then I'm just going to pull my yarn back through to the front side so I am ready to begin sewing. All right, and just like I did before, I'm going to come right into that corner under all of the loops and just kind of secure that corner in nice and tight there. And that's 2, and let's do 1 more so that that corner is definitely closed nice and tight. And then just like before, I'm going to come up under that front loop, go through to the back loop, and just pull it. All right, go to the front loop and go to the back loop. And again, just close that gap. Front loop, back loop, and close. Front loop, back loop, close. And I'm just going to keep here's my front loop. Sometimes you might have to turn the work sideways to make sure you're getting the front and back loops. And what I mean is turn it so that you see the separation. Like there's the back loop, there's the front loop on that one, there's the back loop, and there's the front loop. Just so you make sure you're getting them. And that helps to keep your seam seamless. All right, so just keep doing that until you get all the way to the end and you have a hole big enough that your hand can go in and move around in, okay? And I will meet you back when you have just a hand width left to sew up. All right, so I stopped when I had about a hand width left. And so now I'm going to continue stuffing my pillow. Now I have a smaller hole, so I'm going to have to really kind of stuff it in there. Again, I'm just kind of using my hands to kind of guide it. I want to make it nice and thick, all the while kind of moving it so that it's, because like right now it's looking kind of bulky, but I still got to get more stuffing in there. And again, you can do as much stuffing as you want. You can have it kind of loose, or you can have it kind of full, like I'm doing it. I want it to be nice and full, so it's a nice decorative pillow, but also if somebody wants to use it, that it's nice to lean up against, rest their head on. Looks like I need to bring some stuff in down into this corner down here. So I'm gonna work what's already in there down there, just kind of filling in that corner. And I'm gonna add some more. Oh yeah, my pillow's starting to take a nice shape now that it's getting really full. Again, just kind of work that. All right, I've got kind of a gap here, so I'm just gonna take my hand and push more of that stuff in down into that bottom. All right, and you can see now how it's, oh yeah. Okay, so I have a little bit of a flab here where there's no stuffing in that corner. So I'm going to come back and I'm just going to continue to push it. There we go. Down in that corner. So see how it's filling that up? Now I'm going to come fix that. And it's more just working and playing. Oh yeah. Now that's looking really nice. All right. So I'm going to come back and kind of work on this corner over here, pushing it into that corner so it's got a nice little shape. All right. I'm going to add some more stuff in. That is looking really, really nice. See if I can pull that up without revealing too much of the mess on my table. Got a couple projects going on. All right. All right, so our pillow has quite a nice little shape here. I'm going to flatten this down a little bit and then determine if I need to add any more right here at the opening before I close it. I need to bring this little hump down a little bit right there. And then I'm going to see what I kind of have at the seam here. And I think we've got kind of a nice little shape now. So I'm pretty pleased with that. I think that's all the stuffing I'm going to use. So I'm going to grab my yarn back up here. And I'm just going to continue doing what I was doing to close it up. Find out where my last one was. So I got to come here. And we're just going to keep doing what we've been doing. Going through the front loop of this one. Through the back loop of this one. All the way down to the corner. So just continue working that little bit. And I'll meet you when you have just another little finger peek hole left right here. All right, so when you have just a little finger peek hole left there, we're just going to keep closing it up as we have been all the way to the very end. And then right here in this corner, we're going to go under both the stitches and just do it a couple times just to make sure we have it nice and secure. And then in that last loop, I'm going to slide my yarn back through it, so I'm kind of giving it a little bit of a knot there a little bit. And then just like we would with any other project, let me see which side would be better. I'm going to turn it this way, and I'm going to just slide right in here. It's a little tight, so I'm going to wiggle it under that stitch. That is really tight. Oh, might help if I move my fingernail. My fingernail was in the way, and then I pulled it back out. All right, there we go. And just come up underneath a couple of these stitches, just like that. Hope you can see that. Just working up underneath the top part of those stitches. And then we have just enough to pull it back through. So we planned that length of yarn just right. I do have to get it back on my hook, or back on my needle, I guess I should say. It is starting to fray on me a little bit. but that's okay. We're just securing it down so it will be fine. And pull that back through, and we are done. Just going to clip off that actual little bit of excess we have left right there. And our Christmas pillow is done. And that looks nice. I'm very, very pleased. So, right here where we just finished sewing, got a little bit of a space that looks a little wonky, so I'm just going to kind of walk that filling over there to it so it's nice and spread out. And there we go. We have a nice little square Christmas pillow. And the other side. So I will grab my camera and I will take a better picture of this that you can see the whole pillow. And this ends this portion of our Christmas pillow. And next week we'll come back for part 3, where we will make the ribbon and the bow to go on the pillow. Now, you can choose to just put a bow on it instead of putting the bow and the ribbon. It is your Christmas pillow present, so you can create it how you want. But I will show you how to do both. So I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. And until next time, be joyful, stay crafty in your own way, and make your own joyful creations.